All right, it's recitation time again. It has been about a month, maybe a month and a half since we reacted to a recitation. You guys seem to really enjoy these, and you know, it's our goal that maybe one day we'll get through every single chapter of the Qur'an.
That's one of our goals? I didn't know that was our goal.
Well, hey, why not? We've started, you know.
All right.
Hey, it'd be cool. You know, the only people who've ever done that on YouTube reacted to every single chapter of the Qur'an. That's kind of
at this rate,
cool.
It's totally possible.
Yeah, we'll see. Today we're going to be taking a look at Yaseen. This is chapter 36, and it's supposed to be like the heart of the Qur'an. So like the essence of the Qur'an.
What does that even mean? The heart of the Qur'an?
Yeah, like I think the essence, the big overarching message maybe, I guess, coming out of it. This is kind of lengthy, so we'll probably let it ride for a while, maybe stop halfway and then continue on to the end. Like usual, I have my trusty Qur'an here. I've highlighted some verses. I've looked up some notes on it, so we'll talk about it in between and at the end.
Let's do it. I'm ready.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم مغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاء المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون وجاء من أقصى المدينة يأتي رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغن عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفرني ربي وجعلني من المكرمين وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها.
All right, we're almost about halfway through. I thought it'd be a good time to stop, interject. I was thinking as I was looking up this surah, looking for points to talk about, and then just realized in the beginning that this is supposed to be kind of the heart, the essence of the Qur'an. And if I'm reading it right, for me, the essence of the Qur'an seems to be to believe the message of the book. Believe whatever the message of the book. And I think it is to trust in Allah and Allah's ways of the book, which I guess you can find in here. But I marvel at the simplicity sometimes of the message, because I'm like, how do you construct so much, all the cultural things that revolve around Islam and the things that they do? A lot of it I don't see. We've gone through so many of these recitations, and a lot of them seem similar. They seem to be pointing out it'll be bad for those who don't believe, good for those who believe in the book.
Get it?
It seems really basic. And people get frustrated with us because we spin off and we give our own opinions and we trail off.
What are you doing? Don't think about it. Did you hear it or not?
No, but
do it as it says. It's real simple, really. You think Allah would lead you astray? It's simple. Do it. Is that ever the message?
I don't know. A lot of I think.
Does anyone ever talk like that?
Sometimes,
really?
Sometimes
maybe they don't
people
shout
talk
like I just
but
did,
I think a lot of people get frustrated in the message. They're like, stay on point. And
what are you talking about?
What do you mean stay on point? I sometimes get lost in the messaging, but I try. But then I have to spin off of my own experiences of what I'm going through. So really, what I can take from this is look at what is the heart and the essence of what I'm doing in my life. What is the essence? Because I have a few things going on in my life. I'm sure you got some things going on in your life that you have as like the heart of who you are. We talk a lot about honesty on here, transparency, authenticity. We speak about things about,
I was learning about physics recently and the double slit experiment, if you've never heard of that, the way electrons behave, whether they're observed or not. Electrons in reality behave differently whether or not they're observed.
Yeah.
And then the tail end of it was talking about how there's even some indication that reality like rewrites itself based on if it's observed or not. Like, let's go back and it's behaved differently in the past even than you think to corroborate new information or something like that. Neither here nor there. What I'm saying is one day I may say honesty is of a high premium. Do not count on me to say that over and over again because the laws that govern reality are subject to change. You ever heard of the Mandela effect? You could pick up a Bible certain, or a Qur'an certain that it says something and go to prove your point to someone and you're like, where'd it go? I could have swore it said this. It's got to be in a different translation. Weird, spooky things like that happen.
Yeah.
This thing is manipulating before us, and sometimes the bottom line is the answer is not as simple as that. There are people that understand very complicated things, like not spiritual things. I'm not trying to like leave anyone out. There are people that know stuff I don't of a mathematical persuasion that would spend their life trying to explain it to me. And I'd be like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'd be like, explain it to me like a toddler. You go to ChatGPT. Explain this to me like I'm 4. And it struggles to do it. But the bottom line are there are some things that aren't explainable 4-year-old style.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for those things, sometimes it's like things get a little blunt. They get a little bit shouty. They get a little bit just do it or else-ish.
Yeah.
But just to address what you're saying, in case you're ever confused at my tendency to be paradoxical, my tendency to, contradict myself, it's because this thing is in flux, man, in all the dimensions.
Good word. In flux, because it is ever changing. I like the idea. I like what you said there, how it's not always one day.
Everything is
week.
subject to this. Everything.
Yeah. And that can be really hard because I know where there's like a deep in-grounded belief and ideology behind a lot of religions in absolutism. And like, I don't know, I'm sure you may feel similar, but I'm trying to get more comfortable with uncertainty, with not being certain about everything. It seems to be like being so certain about everything can get you trapped in a box of thinking things have to constantly be a way.
But there's a time for certainty.
Yeah, I hear. Yeah, and there's a time to be certain. So that's like the influx thing that we're talking about, I guess, right? Like
this is God's kingdom, is it not? Whether we're talking about Allah, God, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever. This is God's kingdom. And you think he's like Butterfingers? You think he's like, whoops, didn't mean what? Wow, there's a goofy clown god that sewed together the fibers of every plant you see, that presented digital technology to bring me right into your room, looking at you, pointing something out here. And so there's lessons afoot and there's lessons abound, and just get real appreciative of that. Just dig deep into the complexity and the variety there are. Every religion you can name, aside from this one included, but every other one, there are fervent believers willing to die for what they believe. Yeah. With stories of miracles.
Yeah.
And oftentimes people go, yeah, but I'm comfortable saying they're possessed by demons and I'm the real guy. I'm just comfortable with that. Ipso, that's it. End of the story. I don't want to hear anymore. But I'm talking to people that have a capacity to go deeper. That's who I'm talking to, is the people that see through that and just want to kind of go deeper. And when you go all the way deep, you realize how you gain a perspective that allows you to see the absolute fluctuations of this thing. But only in a certain sense. There's still a room for certainty sometimes and discipline and all this stuff. It's just multidimensional.
Yeah.
Sorry if that's over your head. I don't feel like talking about something from explaining something to a 4-year-old.
Yeah, no, that's, I think you said enough. Well said. We'll continue on and we'll meet you guys at the end, okay?
ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء
I just want to address one thing. Yeah. For those people going, what? The Mandela effect is completely explainable. And sure, certainly. You know what I mean? Like you might be able to scientifically explain why that happens. That mental phenomenon of like recognizing something and then being confused about what it was or whatever. Yeah. For now, there are things that people were certain of scientifically and mathematically that given enough time changed. Yeah. And they were like, we're not certain about, I can't believe we're not certain about that anymore. Yeah. That's all I'm pointing to is the illusion of certainty in regards to what we were talking about. It's like, it's a pretty strong illusion, so much so that I'd say don't ignore it. Like, you know, sometimes you got to operate in that space as if things are away. Yeah. Sometimes that's, but don't be so closed off as to like, I mean, what are you doing? You try to live too rigidly with no flexibility and you'll see the outcome of that.
I don't know if you caught
reality will tell you, you know, that's why sayings like best laid plans of man, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like as if God doesn't care what your plans are. He's going to do what he's going to do or it's going to do or she's going to do or whatever the heck.
Yeah. I don't know if you caught it. You were mentioning science there, but there was a verse in here that verse 40, it said, the sun is not to overtake the moon, nor the night to outpace the day. Each floats in an orbit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, of orbit around the Earth? Because if that's the case, then wouldn't something be wrong there within the Quran? Because the sun doesn't orbit around the Earth.
I don't know.
And does the sun, I don't think the sun has an orbit.
I don't know. I understand the point, though. If what they're trying to do with their limited thousands of year old knowledge is point to the opposite of essentially what I was pointing to, is a sense of certainty, you know? This thing works like clockwork. Totally valid. I understand it. I see what they're doing when they're pointing to things that work like clockwork. Predictability, in some sense. That's a valid thing to point out.
Yeah.
And you're going, well, then gotcha, man. Gotcha. I'm saying, no, you don't got me, because there are also plenty of uncertainties in your life. Plenty of them, things subject to change. You know, it's true until it's not. You really want to test that? You really want to be like, you know, I can bet my life on this. That'll be the one day there's a weird eclipse no one's ever seen.
Yeah.
Bizarre things happen, inconsistencies happen, but it does make sense to regard rules of thumb, even though the core root of that saying is pretty monstrous, so maybe there's something else we can say. It does make sense to appreciate and honor the notion of predictability.
Yeah.
Like, that's not nothing. It's just not everything. That's all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and,
I hear what you're saying.
But when it's connected to an ideology, it can get awfully restricting. It can get awfully the opposite of freedom-y. It can get the awfully confusing and maddening and to totalitarianism and crazy and off the tracks when there's zero flexibility. When you take it and you don't really get deeply analytical about it and allow the analyticalness to dissolve everything, you know.
Yeah.
It can cause its own kind of certainty mayhem, certainty chaos, certainty totalitarianism, certainty exhaustion, certainty depression, certainty fury, certainty cruel ideology that can turn into that when there's no flexibility.
Yeah. Can I jump into a new point?
Sure.
All right, because I highlighted some verses here. Another one that kind of stuck out, and I'm just gonna throw my opinion at it. And it was verses 63 and 64 that said, "This is hellfire, which you were promised. Roast in it today, because you persistently disbelieved." Now, here's a question for the audience out there. Are there any Muslims out there that on some level believe really at the end of this, if you wholeheartedly believe in Allah or God or whatever, are there any of you that actually believe that really God's gonna forgive everyone in the end? I used to think like that when I was a Christian. I used to think on some way, I did have my hellfire phase where I believed that people were gonna burn and then people weren't gonna burn, and then that didn't make sense to me, and so I used to be like, well, maybe a lot of these verses, maybe we're gonna terrify you, you'll be roasting. Literally, the word is roast. Maybe. Part of you is thinking, well, maybe it's to just scare everyone enough just to keep enough order on earth that when they die, they can finally all be forgiven, and, everyone will, It's
like when your dad would be like, he kind of threatened, almost like it seemed like he was going to be his parent, and you go, I'm not going to do it. And you'd be like, okay, thank goodness I'm good. I'll be good. Yeah. Something like that,
Yeah, it does just enough work, in this realm, scaring enough people to not do enough harm that by when they enter the next realm, they'll be like, okay, I learned.
I would imagine most people go, it's not that.
I know there's a lot, but I bet you any money there are some out there that do think that on some level, because I thought of it. I can't be the only one that thought of that.
Why would God infinitely punish me for a finite crime? That argument?
Yeah, well, I always think of that. That's my biggest beef against hell, is because the punishment does not make sense for the finite. That's never made sense to me. It could be hell, I was currently reading Dante's Inferno, where it's he's walking through layers of hell. And I know, and there's other religious traditions where they believe that you kind of get refined through hell, and then once you've gone through it, you get out of it. And I know even in Islam, there's some people that get out of hell. I think they're the believers, though, or something. But honestly, the infinite nature of it versus a finite crime, that makes, in my opinion, that makes no sense. That makes zero sense.
The infinite nature of it versus a finite crime.
Yeah, because you're like, the crime is disbelief, or the crime is sin, or whatever it is, and then you have to suffer infinitely for it, whereas you only had a finite amount of time to believe or to commit the evil acts that you were doing to make God unhappy.
Do we live in a world where it's possible to have a minor injury, like stubbing your toe and then that hurts? That clearly exists.
Yeah.
It's a rhetorical question. Do we live in a world where that pain can be sort of stretched out? Chronic pain exists. I've got a bad shoulder. It hurts me every day. That exists. Do we live in a world where sometimes people are captured and tortured for years?
Yeah.
Kept alive. Feed them some stuff so we can torture them more. And then you enter into a tortured state for years. Possibly a lifetime. Is it possible that somebody out there from the cradle to the grave lived an entirely tortured life? Mm-hmm. So we already exist in a reality, like if that's possible, of a God that would allow monstrous things, lifelong things. Is it possible that that same God would create a realm where people burn for eternity with never ceasing, aware of their torment? That there are creatures maybe in other galaxies right now that are just designed to burn forever. Does life feel like that sometimes? If I got to go to this freaking job one more time, my life is hell. Does that ever happen, even minus physical torture? Mm-hmm. What are we doing? What are we doing? Are we sure that we're going to rely on these type of things that do this? Because the implications are crazy. You got to deny certain aspects of reality to refine things down into one way, and you got to stoke the fire of ideological belief. Let me try to re-believe this. Block everything else out that's contradictory and stoke the fire of reinforcing this belief. Does that happen? These are important notions, I think, when it comes to the seriousness of any kind of ideology, even if it's just a resignation that life is competitive.
Yeah.
Did you really take that apart? Did you really give a fair shake to the idea that life is collaborative and that we actually collaborate with each other and we need each other? Are you certain it's primarily competitive? I say weigh all the options and then start taking apart what you take for granted as belief, like even the notion of that pain is even bad. Your assumptions about God, that God's anything like you, anything like us. Notions upon notions upon notions, restrictive notions, restrictive conclusions based on just simply what's been handed down to you. What you were a baby and didn't know any better was given to you. Yeah. And you were immersed in, and you grew in. And then you grew past and said, hey, wait a sec, I've been exposed to some other things. I'm going to start thinking differently. Don't take that for granted either. That's still handed down to you.
Yeah.
This thing, to me personally, I'm just interested in investigating. I'm interested in taking it apart. And when you do that, you get little windows of freedom from being sort of relegated to one way or a limited way of being.
Yeah.
I want to do it all. I want to do all the ways of being. And I want to get as far away from the things I feel like getting away from while they happen and towards the things I want to get near. I want to get near the things I want to get near till they become boring, and then I want to get towards other things.
Yeah.
Because, like I said earlier, everything is manipulating, warping, changing.
Yeah.
Everything is, you just look around. Depends on your perspective. You ever seen the speeded up footage of anything? Sped up footage of the Earth. That's a perspective. Something could have a different perception of time than you. And then maybe to whatever that entity is, things that look like they're ridiculously chaotically in flux.
Yeah.
Well,
the same God for you is the same God for the bee, the mountains.
Is it?
Space,
I don't know. Maybe it isn't.
The moon.
Maybe there's multiple gods. I don't know.
Yeah.
How would you know? Unless you looked. Unless you did some hardcore research.
Well, anyway, guys, I had some more verses here, but we've gone off on a tear on this one. We went a long time.
As always.
Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. If you are, please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, share this with a friend. And until next time,
stay spiritual.